Today, our transport world is with Avalon Head of Portfolio Management, Jim Morrison. Good evening, Jim.
Good evening. It's great to be here, Victoria.
Thank you. Jim, our reason for getting in touch today is because on the 19th of January, you released Avalon's Outlook for 2021, and that's a paper which is called Looking to Recovery. And in that, you picked out some trends of what you're expecting from the year ahead. Are you able to just share the overview of what that paper says?
Certainly. So we took the opportunity to outline what Avalon sees as the key trends in 2021, the year to come, for both aircraft manufacturers, airlines, as well as aircraft lessors. So following up on the horrendous year of 2020, which saw dramatic reductions in air transport and air traffic, large losses for airlines, we do look forward to the year ahead with cautious optimism. In the year ahead, we will see effective vaccines being rolled out that enable governments to have confidence to reopen borders and to enable air travel recovery to ensue. So those are the broad themes of the paper that we outlined, and happy to talk about in more specifics.
Mm-hmm. So in the paper, it talks about this vaccine-driven recovery and how that could be fairly fragmented across worldwide regions. So whereabouts do you expect to see that coming back the strongest?
So the key challenge in the market today is the inability of passengers to fly across borders, given the travel restrictions that have been implemented to contain the virus. So we certainly see domestic markets returning first. Once the vaccines are effective at containing the virus, governments will have the confidence to reopen air travel. Following the domestic markets, it'll be the regional markets within continents such as Europe, intra-Asia, Pacific, where international organizations are in place to enable governments to coordinate travel restrictions and allow passengers to cross borders again. And then finally, long-haul international will be the last market to recover. So I generally think about the market in thirds. Roughly a third of the market is, in terms of passenger kilometers traveled, is within domestic markets. Just under a third is within region, intra-regional travel, and then over a third is long-haul international. So as we see domestic markets reopen, we'll see the air traffic recover up to a third. Once the intra-regional markets reopen, another third will be added, with the most challenging third being that final long-haul international travel between continents.
Mm-hmm. And in amongst all this, I mean, I know that you mentioned this sort of realistic optimism for the industry. In amongst all of this, there are some airlines that are looking to seize the opportunity of this crisis. And there's a mention of an increased interest from startup airlines. What are you seeing and hearing around that?
One of the themes that we did identify is that we expect there to be more startup airlines in 2021 than there were failures in 2020. And this is really the airline playbook of past downturns. Over the last decade, what we've seen is the dynamism in the airline industry, the really growth above long-term average, was driven by fast-growing airlines as well as startup airlines that really rooted their growth plans back following the last downturn in 2008-2009 period. So the decade ahead, we expect the same trend to continue. We're already tracking over 30 startup airlines who are looking to either start operations in 2021 or perhaps have already had plans before the pandemic, are progressing with those now. So that's going to create the opportunity for both lessors to get aircraft flying again, as well as to create above trend traffic again once the pandemic recedes.
Mm-hmm. And is there any geographic concentration for those startups that you're seeing? Are they coming up in particular markets?
I think it's a global trend. It's across the world. And it's going to pick up in market segments in which there's an opportunity, whether current incumbent airlines have receded given restructuring or financial challenges, as well as where there's new pockets of passenger demand to open up new markets and new groups of passengers who are looking to travel once it is safe to do so again.
Mm-hmm. And obviously for a startup airline, they're looking for the right aircraft technologies to get going. That's important to the economies of scale of the business and the efficiency of the business. For the airlines across the industry, you're not seeing any kind of clean sheet aircraft plans coming in within the next decade. Is that correct?
Yeah, so a decade ago, the dynamics in the aircraft manufacturing space were very different. At that time, we had record high oil prices and fuel prices, which is driving a real value for new technology to reduce the fuel burn. We were seeing ambitious regional jet makers who were looking to grow up into the 100+ seat category for passenger aircraft. And we were also seeing aging product portfolios from both Airbus and Boeing. So that led to a lot of product innovation and a lot of turnover of those product portfolios the past decade. And we've seen entry into service, so the A320neo, the 737 MAX, 787, and new technology aircraft that are now the backbone of the fleet. But those trends don't exist today anymore. What we're going to see forward for the next 10 years are the manufacturers focused on delivering high quality products from the current portfolios and deleveraging their balance sheets, given the financial impact that they have had to experience during this pandemic year as well.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely, because it's impacted right the way across the industry. But like we say, there's hopefully a realistic optimism in those facts that you put out there for 2021. Well, thank you very much for sharing that with me today, Jim. And yeah, this is Victoria Moores reporting for Air Transport World in London.